Ninth canto, ninth chapter, verse number 30. So ayam brahmarshi varyaste rajarshi pravarad vibho katham arhati dharmagya vadham pitur ivatmajaha. Let me move this out. My lord, you are completely aware of the religious principles. As a son never deserves to be killed by his father, here is a Brahmana who should be protected by the king and never killed. How does he deserve to be killed by a Rajarshi like you? Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The word Rajarshi refers to a king who behaves like a rishi or sage. Such a king is also called Naradev because he is considered a representative of the Supreme Lord. Because his duty is to rule the kingdom to maintain Brahminical culture, he never desires to kill a Brahmana. Generally, a Brahmana, woman, child, old man, or cow is never regarded as punishable. Thus, the wife of the Brahmana requested the king to refrain from this sinful act. Thank you very much for joining. It's my honor to be amongst all of you to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam and to discuss a very special, very esoteric topic of Lord Jagannath's Snana Yatra or bathing ceremony. So I'll start with some brief prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarne Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I offer my obeisances to my Gurujana, my Diksha and Shiksha Gurus, to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, and pray for your blessings so that I can speak words that are scripturally accurate, pleasing to the Lord, and evoke deep feelings of devotion to Him in our hearts. This topic of Snana Yatra and Lord Jagannath are way beyond my qualifications in bhakti to even contemplate. And I'll attempt to speak what I've learned from Srila Prabhupada, my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Swami, and one of his exalted disciples, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami, as well as a deep Jagannath Bhakta, His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu, an exalted disciple of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. I offer my obeisances to the senior devotees, especially who are on today, Adi Purusha Prabhu, Arjuna Prabhu, anyone else who might be present. My obeisances at your lotus feet, and I beg for your blessings, all of you. So we read in the biographies of Lord Chaitanya or Gauranga Mahaprabhu, his deep and extensive pastimes with Lord Jagannath. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami outlines in his book, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, why the Supreme Lord Krishna appears in Kali Yuga as his own greatest devotee, Sri Chaitanya. Kaviraj Goswami sums up these reasons in Adi Leela chapter 4, verses 15 and 16. The Lord wanted to taste the sweet essence of the mellows of love of God, which only a devotee can experience. In particular, Krishna wanted to taste the love that Sri Radha feels for him and the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love. He wanted to propagate devotional service in the world, on the platform of spontaneous attraction. This was the second reason. That is the love of the residents of Vrindavan for him, specifically that of the Vraja Gopis. Excuse myself only a second. I turned my fan on. It was a little hot. Sorry. So Krishna appeared 535 years ago as Sri Chaitanya. He's Krishna himself, but in the mood and complexion of Srimati Radharani. Sri Chaitanya took to the renounced order of life, or sannyas, at the tender age of 24. Afterwards, at the request of his mother, he agreed to settle down in Jagannath Puri, a few hundred miles from Navadvip in Bengal, where he spent his first 24 years. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees participated in all the festivals that happened in Puri. Madhya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 11, verse 62, describes, upon seeing the bathing ceremony of Lord Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy. But when Lord Jagannath retired after the ceremony, Lord Chaitanya became very unhappy because he could not see him. So we're going to get into the descriptions of the festival of Snana Yatra, or the bathing ceremony of Lord Jagannath. Jagannath Puri is a most unique holy dham. It's very wonderful. Skanda Purana describes it extensively. Puri is a place of great opulence. The locals describe the main temple of Lord Jagannath there as Shri Mandir. That is the temple of Lakshmi Devi. Lord Jagannath is captured by her love and resides in that temple. Wherever Lakshmi Devi resides, naturally there is the greatest opulence, as she is the goddess of fortune. Now, we've heard so many times in the Bhakti scriptures that where there is opulence or Aishwarya, which is prominent in worshipping the Supreme Lord, the expression of love gets restricted. As an example, when a king is present in court, it is hard for him to express or share intimate love in the court for his queen. But when they're at home in their private quarters, they can drop the formalities and behave with sweet intimacy with each other. What's unique about Puri is that in this holy dham of Jagannath Puri, there are three moods that are present in the same dham. Madhavananda Prabhu was talking about this last Saturday at the first of 5 series on Lord Jagannath's Pastimes that ISKCON of CNJ has started, and which the Bhakti Center is a co-host of. So he talked about this specific point last Saturday. So in Jagannath Puri, the first mood that we see is Aishwarya, or opulence, which we have briefly talked about above. There is Audarya, or magnanimity. And the example of that is Jagannath. As Patita Pavana, he gives darshan at the entrance of Simhadwar, or the Lion Gate, the savior of the most fallen, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. There is Madhurya, or sweetness. Mahaprabhu's Antya pastimes of his final 18 years in Gambhira, and Lord Jagannath's pastimes of Snana Yatra and Rath Yatra are full of Madhurya, or sweetness. Lord Jagannath is the Supreme Person, Krishna. He exhibits both his Dwarka and his Vrindavan mellows in Puri. In Shri Mandir, the main temple, he is worshipped in opulence and served by Lakshmi Devi. Just like in Dwarka, he is worshipped in great opulence by his queens, Rukmini, Satyabhama, and so on. In Gundicha Mandir, a little distance away, a few kilometers away from Shri Mandir, or the main Mandir, Krishna experiences his Vrindavan pastimes with his most intimate devotees, the gopis of Vrindavan, headed by Srimati Radharani. So it's very significant that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu resided in Jagannath Puri. In the last 18 years of his life, he experienced the sweetness of the mood of Vipralamba or separation. You see, Jagannath is Krishna in Mahabhav Prakash, or the mood, the extremely ecstatic mood of separation from his devotees in Vrindavan, especially Srimati Radharani and the gopis. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna in the mood of Radharani, and he's experiencing in Puri those pastimes and those experiences of the separation that she felt when Krishna left Vrindavan to go to Mathura and then to Dwarka. So the exchanges of those pastimes that are described in Chaitanya Charitamrita are uber sweet. Lord Jagannath's daily pastimes and worship, even inside the Shri Mandir, are filled with the mood of Raj. So that brings us to today's topic of Snana Yatra, or the grand bathing ceremony of Lord Jagannath, which is actually today by Tithi. Thakur Narottam Das says, Madhava Tithi Bhakti Janani. Madhava is Krishna, Tithi is date or special day. Bhakti Janani, mother of Bhakti. So these special days of Madhava or Krishna are the mother of devotion. We've heard in connection with Ekadashi how it's Madhava Tithi and so many festival days. The Vaishnava calendar is filled with festivals almost every day actually. Why? Because by participating in these festivals, our devotion to Krishna grows stronger and bigger. So we can participate in Snana Yatra and other festivals by going there, but many of us or most of us perhaps cannot go to Jagannath Puri. But even by hearing, reading, or talking about these festivals, we are able to participate in them. How? Because Krishna is absolute and topics about Krishna are absolute. So by hearing or by speaking about Snana Yatra, we are actually in Snana Yatra. We are participating. So as I speak and as you hear, let's go to Jagannath Puri. And I want to share a very brief clip of the live video from Puri. So let me share that. It's actually this. And I'm not going to play, it's an 8-hour long video, so I'm not going to play it for more than a few seconds. These are the actual deities of Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra. They come out from Sri Mandir and they're perched at a very high place in the campus or the complex of the Jagannath Mandir. From there, hundreds of thousands of people, you can see today it's empty because of COVID, but normally this entire space would be packed. And people would be seeing the deities of Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra. They're over here in this Snan Mandap or the bathing area that has been created. And then from there, they can see out at their devotees and the devotees can look out at them. So very beautiful. I'm going to stop in a second after we see Jagannath Chakra, see the Sudarshan Chakra on top of the temple. So I will stop here. Just a little, except I cannot get it to stop. Is there any way you can stop the sharing for me, Gaur Sharan Prabhu? Because I don't know why I keep getting this circular.
Did it stop for you?
Thank you. I'm back. Can you hear? And you don't see the
Yes,
share,
bro.
right? Because I don't want the YouTube video playing. Okay. Sorry about that. So today, Snan Yatra Day is considered in Jagannath Puri to be Lord Jagannath's birthday. How is this? He's Krishna, right? So isn't his birthday Janmashtami, which we will celebrate in a few weeks or a couple of months? Lord Jagannath has not one, not two, but three birthdays, and we'll talk about it today. Now, actually, since he is God himself, he does not actually take birth like we do. He manifests in the material world in different forms, which we celebrate as his birthdays or appearance days. So many stories abound about the appearance of Lord Jagannath. Skanda Purana, Brahma Purana, and some local Sthala Puranas from Odisha talk about these stories. Today, I will very briefly narrate one story from Skanda Purana before going on to describe some unique pastimes that are connected to Snan Yatra. So many millions of years ago, there lived a king by the name of Indradyumna who used to rule at Avanti. He was a great devotee of the Lord, and his constant wish was to see Lord Vishnu. A Brahmin once visited him and told him about Nilachal, a very sacred place. And a Brahmin told him a very beautiful deity, Nilamadava, is being worshipped on the top of a blue mountain in Nilachal. That area is surrounded by a thick forest. And the Brahmin went on, whoever takes darshan of this deity goes back to the spiritual world. Nilamadava was being worshipped by a band of Shabaras or pig farmers whose head was Vishwavasu. So when King Indradumna heard this, he sent a trusted minister, Vidyapati, to see for himself and bring back news and arrange for Indradumna and his entire kingdom to move there so that they could worship. After a long journey, Vidyapati arrived in the village of the Shabaras and announced that he had come on behalf of King Indradumna to take darshan of Nilamadava. And could the Shabaras and Vishwavasu, the head of the Shabaras, take him to see Lord Nilamadava? Vishwavasu was reluctant. You see, he didn't want these wealthy foreigners to come and take over the worship. These band of Shabaras, they were worshipping Nilamadava in a simple but very heartfelt way. And he was attached to Nilamadava and to the worship. But he was hospitable, so he hosted Vidyapati at home. The daughter of Vishwavasu, the head of the Shabras, was a lady named Lalita. She and Vidyapati fell in love. Vidyapati pleaded with her, "Can you please beg your father to take me to see the Lord?" So after much persuasion and pleading, Vishwavasu agreed, but on condition that Vidyapati would be blindfolded on the way there and the way back, so that he couldn't find his way to Nilamadava later. Vidyapati took a small bag of mustard seeds with him and discreetly scattered them along the path. His idea was that eventually they'll grow into mustard plants and mustard flowers, and then he could find his way to Nilamadava's place of worship. So finally, they came to where Lord Nilamadava was being worshipped. Vidyapati, with great wonder, saw the beautiful deity of Nilamadava, and he saw demigods alighting there in celestial airplanes and worshipping Nilamadava. Later, Vishwavasu, the tribal king, served Vidyapati some prasad, and the prasad was opulent beyond belief. Vidyapati was puzzled. He said, "You are a band of," or he was thinking to himself, "These are a band of tribals. How do they have such opulent food, opulent bhoga to offer? And how is this prasad so divinely tasty and opulent?" So Vishwavasu replied, every day demigods come to worship Nilamadava from the heavenly planets. And they bring bhoga from there to offer to him. That is what you're honoring as prasadam now. The minister Vidyapati returned to King Indradumna in Avanti, and together they came back to the tribal kingdom with Narada Muni, the transcendental spaceman. When they came to the band of Shabaras, they found Vishwavasu, and he was very depressed. You see, what had happened when Vidyapati left to go back to Avanti, a terrible storm and huge winds had come upon that place where Nilamadava was being worshipped soon after Vidyapati had left. And the deity of Nilamadava had disappeared. It is said that Nilamadava is the predominating deity of the universe for the first 50 years of Brahma's life. Jagannath is the predominating deity of the balanced 50 years of Brahma's life. In this material universe, we know from Shastra that Brahma lives for 311 trillion earth years. Srimad Bhagavatam 8th canto talks about that. He's about halfway through his life right now. So in terms of Brahma's time, this is the beginning of Jagannath worship in the universe. But in terms of earthly time, it's a few million years old. So King Indradumna was very depressed when he heard that the deity of Nilamadava had disappeared. He felt despair that not just his trip, but his whole life was in vain. And a voice from the sky said, make a deity of me, install him, and worship him. So King Indradumna's Ishtadev, or worshipable deity, was Narsimadev. So he had a deity made of Lord Narsimadev and installed him. He's called Yagya Narsimha. He's still there near the Gundicha temple in Puri, close to Indradumna Sarovar or lake. The king performed a yagya, and Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra appeared out of the fire for a very brief moment. Then they disappeared back into the fire. Another voice from the sky came. You will find me near Chakratirtha in the form of Daru Brahman. That's a transcendental log of wood. So King Indradumna went to Chakratirtha with his citizens to look for this log. It's described many people tried to move this log. Big wrestlers, the army, everyone tried. Hundreds of people were trying to move this log. Huge elephants came. No one could move it. Another voice from the sky came. Both of you, Indradumna and Vishwavasu, have to cooperate and take part in this operation together. You see, Rath Yatra, right from the very inception of Jagannath appearing, is all about different parts of society, different devotees coming together, cooperating, putting aside any differences they may have, simply so that they can worship the Supreme Lord Jagannath. And it's very sweet. So Indradumna and Vishwavasu, they touched that Daru Brahman, or the transcendental log, and it began to move on its own. They took the transcendental log to what is now the Gundicha temple. And they had to get deities made from that log. Initially, every carver who came there, their instruments broke. Nothing could even penetrate that transcendental log of wood. Then an old man came. Actually, Skanda Purana describes he was Vishwakarma, the architect of the demigods in disguise. He said, give me 15 days, and above all, don't disturb me no matter what. If you come into the room before I have finished, before these 15 days are up, I will leave the way the deities are at that moment. So he went into the room and closed the doors and began to chisel and carve the log into deity forms. There was lots of sound coming. You could hear the chiseling and the sawing and the hammering. But after about 14 days, all sound stopped from within the room. Everyone was agog. What is happening? King Indradyumna's wife made him go and open the doors to see what was happening. Was the old carver okay? Had he fainted? She was concerned. Indradyumna didn't want to go because the carver had said, don't come in before the 15 days are up. But he couldn't say no to his wife. And so when he opened the doors, the old man had disappeared. And there were three deity forms that looked incomplete. But these are the deity forms of Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra that we know and love sitting there. Now, these deity forms, they look very different from any other deity form in the universe, don't they? King Indradyumna thought they were unfinished. What have I done? I've interrupted. Why did I listen to my wife? But then a voice from the sky came again. Don't be depressed. This is the way I like to be. The scriptures tell us that this form of Krishna is Mahabhav Prakash. Mahabhav is the greatest ecstasy, and Prakash, the manifestation of that ecstasy. He's in great ecstasy and he's steeped in the mood of separation from Vrindavan and his devotees there. The day that Lord Jagannath appeared, 15 days prior to this, from the fire and then in the Daru Brahman or log of wood, is now celebrated as Snana Yatra. So that's his first birthday. After Jagannath was installed along with Baladev, Subhadra, and Sudarshan Chakra, Sudarshan Chakra is on the left side of Jagannath, another voice came from the sky. There is a Sona Kua, a well nearby. I want you to give me a bath with water from that well. So that well was covered over at that time. It had to be excavated. To this day, it's on the north side of the temple complex. That well is used only for Snana Yatra, and only the water from that well is used for Snana Yatra. So the first Snana Yatra took place at that time, all those few million years ago. Now the deities of Jagannath are wooden deities, we saw right in that video. They are painted with natural dyes, oxides, and colors. On a daily basis, do you know how they are given bath? There is a mirror that's held in front of them in such a way that it reflects their form. And then water is poured on top of that mirror. But on Snana Yatra day, for hours and hours together, huge quantities of water are poured directly onto these deities. So these deities, their colors, they run. And the deities look disheveled at the end of the Snana Yatra. So normally when we come to see the deities, we are uplifted and inspired. We admire the beauty of their forms. We come to see Radha Murlidhar, Sri Gaurachandra and Varaha Narasimhadev, and we admire the way that pujaris have dressed them. We admire their perfect beauty and the expressions and so on, and we feel uplifted. But here are Jagannath deities looking disheveled and discolored from the bathing. So it is the custom in Puri to dress them up after the Snana Yatra is over in an elephant dress. There is some folklore behind that, a story of how Jagannath wanted to reciprocate with a worshipper of Ganesh, but we don't have time to go into that today. So at this stage, I hope I can share something that we can quickly look at. So we saw these deities. These are the original deities of Puri, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra. Look at the pouring. The deities are huge and they're pouring water from this Sona Kua onto them. And then Lord Jagannath in Hathi Besh or elephant dress. And these deities are from Rajapur near Mayapur. Beloved Jagannath deities, their scripture tells us that they're not different from the deities in Puri. See, they're dressed in elephant dress. So very beautiful, this Snana Yatra and the dressing after that. So after the deities give darshan dressed in their elephant forms, they retired to private quarters for the next 15 days. This period is called Anavasara. Other than Jagannath's direct servants, no one is allowed darshan of them and no one is allowed near them. So during this time, the deities are painted over. Once again, they're freshened up by special servants who serve them. There's another esoteric reason for this seclusion. Due to the long bathing with cold water on a hot day, Skanda Purana describes that Lord Jagannath falls sick. He's offered medicinal herbs, fruit juices, and infusions to cure the fever and the cold that he has picked up. Now, you might say, he's the Lord. How can he get sick? But Lord Jagannath's sickness is not a material sickness like our bodies experience. His sickness is the sickness of missing Vrindavan. He misses Vrindavan and he wants to see Vrindavan so badly and be with his devotees in Vrindavan. See, in the beginning of, just before Snana Yatra, he's telling everyone, my birthday is tomorrow. So naturally on a birthday, I want Abhishek. And take me to the top of the wall for my bath so that all my devotees can see me getting the bath. And that's how Snana Yatra comes about. But that's just a ruse. In reality, from that bathing mandap, that place of bathing we saw in the video earlier, at least back then, now maybe there are some buildings in between, Jagannath could see Gundicha, which is where he originally appeared. Gundicha is non-different from Vrindavan. Some Vaishnavas say he doesn't actually get sick. It's the fever of Vipralamba or separation from the gopis. Once he has gone up to the top of the wall and he's seeing Gundicha and he's pining for them. But let's hear a story that I've heard from my Guru Maharaj Radhanath Swami and also from Madhavananda Prabhu, who both directly spoke to this person. So there is a story of Dr. Alva. He's an allopathic medical doctor in Mumbai. He's a very pious person, very influential. He's from the Vallabha Sampradaya. They worship Srinathji. So he was in Jagannath Puri once during this period of seclusion, this 15-day period after the Snana Yatra, Anavasara period. And he was great friends with the Pandas, with one of the Pandas who served the Lord intimately during this period of seclusion. So this Panda, he took Dr. Alva to see the Lord privately. Lord Jagannath's body has 7 layers, corresponding to the 7 layers that Ayurveda describes our bodies have. Of course, his body is not material, but he has 7 layers, like, we have blood, marrow, skin, and so on. Now, his body, it takes 2 days to restore each of those layers and a day for touch-up. That's the 15 days. So Lord Jagannath, he's made from wood and he has cloth and then other coverings that make up those 7 layers. Then on the 16th day, he appears in public to give darshan. And that darshan is called Nava Yavanam Darshan or Netrotsav, festival for the eyes. Nava Yavanam means newly blossoming youth, which is what Krishna is. And then the day after this public darshan, so that darshan is on day 16, and the day after that is Rath Yatra. The day before Rath Yatra, the Nava Yavanam Darshan, this special Netrotsav Darshan, closes early. It's not the usual 21 hours a day. So you see, unlike other deities, which, go to sleep at a certain time and then they take midday rest or, afternoon rest. And so the darshan time is, maybe 8-10 hours a day. In Vrindavan, there are some temples that are less than that. In Puri, darshan stretches over 21 hours. He sleeps only for 3 hours. Among the benedictions that King Indradumna had asked for and gotten from Lord Jagannath were, King Indradumna was in such a magnanimous mood always. He begged Jagannath, please give the maximum possible darshan. Sleep very little and let your devotees constantly see you. And the other benediction that Indradumna had asked from Lord Jagannath was, let your hands always be wet. What does that mean? We will constantly offer you bhoga. You should just eat non-stop and wash your hands. And so your hands are wet. And as soon as you washed your hands, we will make another set of offering of food to you. So that's what happens to this day. Jagannath Mahaprasad is very famous. But back to Dr. Alva. So he was taken in to see the deities of Jagannath when they were resting before they had come out in public at the end of their 15-day period of seclusion. So the Panda said he wanted the doctor to take Lord Jagannath's temperature. So the doctor was internally rolling his eyes. He says, yeah, these devotees, of course, they have this sentiment that the Lord is sick. So he respectfully agreed and he touched the Lord's feet. They were cold. So the Panda looked at him scornfully. Is this how you take someone's temperature? Do it how you would do it to your patients. So the doctor then touched Lord Jagannath's neck and immediately jumped back. He said he could not bear to leave his hand on Lord Jagannath's neck. It was so hot. He went racing back to where Radhanath Swami was staying in Puri along with the other yatris who were there. And he excitedly was telling them, it's true. Lord Jagannath does indeed get a fever. So Niladri Mahodaya is one of the main sthala or local Puranas that describes the worship of Lord Jagannath. In that it is described on Akshay Tritiya day, which happened I forget the date, but it happened about a month and some days ago. The building of Jagannath's cart starts. Then there is Pandav Nirjal Ekadashi, which we know we celebrated and observed earlier this week. Pandav Nirjal Ekadashi is the day that Krishna kidnapped Queen Rukmini and he got married to her. Rukmini Vivaha or Rukmini Haran, that's the day. So to commemorate this wedding in Puri, the pujaris, they take Lord Jagannath's cloth that he's wearing and they tie a knot with the cloth of Lakshmi Devi to signify this wedding of Krishna and Rukmini. And then 4 days after this is Snana Yatra. Lakshmi Devi is such a good wife that during the period of seclusion when Lord Jagannath is sick, she does not sleep for the next 15 days. She supervises and personally takes care of Lord Jagannath. His caretakers and his servants, they're bringing in medicinal herbs, fruit juices, infusions under her direction. So what happens when you don't sleep for 15 days? You get tired. So Lakshmi Devi gets tired and then she goes to sleep. And what does our Lord Jagannath do? He unties the knot that is tying him to her cloth. And he goes off on his chariot to Gundicha to see his girlfriends, the gopis of Vrindavan, and specifically Srimati Radharani. We call that Rath Yatra. Now, Lakshmi Devi wakes up a few days later and she looks around. She's asking, where is my husband? A few pandas are around and they very hesitantly tell her, well, he's gone to Gundicha. She gets upset and she refuses to dress up or eat anything palatable. She turns away all the bhoga that is offered to her. She's like, no, I'm not eating anything. She sulks. After a few days of this, she goes to see her good friend Bimala Devi or Parvati Devi to complain. That is Durga. So Bimala Devi is right there in the complex. Actually, Lakshmi Devi eats or honors prasad, right? Only Krishna gets bhoga. But anyway, according to Niladri Mahodaya, Bimala Devi tells Lakshmi Devi, when a husband loses his vivek or equilibrium, he loses his brain. So you have to take shelter of some magic, she says. Here, take this powder and go visit your husband in Gundicha. When you see him, blow this powder in his face and his good intelligence will come back. Lakshmi Devi likes this proposal. So she takes bath. She puts on her finest dresses and ornaments and comes out with her girlfriends and attendants to go and confront Jagannath. Remember, Jagannath is Krishna, and so he's the only enjoyer. Every person other than Jagannath or Krishna is meant to be enjoyed by Krishna, and Krishna has unlimited desires. He's unlimited. His senses are unlimited. So he enjoys different kinds of mellows. With Lakshmi Devi, he enjoys the mellow of Swakiya Ras, or the marital bliss that comes from marriage. With Radharani and the gopis, he enjoys Parakiya Ras. In reality, they all belong to him. We all belong to him. We are Krishna's. But Yogamaya facilitates these pastimes, and therefore we have this externally, Lakshmi Devi is, not just externally, she's actually upset, but that's Yogamaya intervening to create this mood so that Jagannath can experience the different mellows of Swakiya and Parakiya Ras. So anyway, so Lakshmi Devi, she's now dressed and bathed, and she comes out with her girlfriends and attendants to go to Gundicha. That day and festival is called Hera Panchami. Now, Lakshmi Devi has an attitude. Hera means to see, and Panchami means 5th day after she has woken up. So it's about the 9th day after the Rath Yatra that she's going to Gundicha. She goes to the Gundicha temple, but she takes a different route from the one that Lord Jagannath has taken during his Rath Yatra. When she arrives there, she beats up some of Lord Jagannath's pandas because she's very upset. She's very angry. And then she goes inside the Gundicha temple, and she's there for several hours. She sees Lord Jagannath, her husband. She bows down to him, and very respectfully, she blows the powder in his face. Very respectfully, but firmly. And then she comes out, but it's late. It's around 1 or 2 a.m. The whole town of Puri is out there waiting to see her. So she goes on this special road, Hera Batsai Road. I'm probably not pronouncing it right. Back to the Sri Mandir, the main temple in Puri. Everyone in Puri is coming out to worship her and offer her fruits and flowers. Everyone is telling her, Lakshmi Devi, we are on your side. She accepts their worship and adoration and goes back into the Sri Mandir in Puri. Lord Jagannath realizes, I'm in trouble. He comes out with his brother and sister in what is called the Return Rath Yatra or Bahuda Rath Yatra. The deities were first carved in Gundicha Mandir by Vishwakarma all those millions of years ago. And the first journey that they took back then was the Bahuda Yatra because they went to the Sri Mandir. And then there is a ceremony outside the temple complex. The king of Puri, he goes inside the Sri Mandir and he does some marriage counseling. He tells Lakshmi Devi, don't be upset with him. Jagannath really loves you. He feels really bad. He's begging your forgiveness. Please take him back. He has left Gundicha Mandir. Look, he's come back here. He's outside the temple complex. And a royal elephant is sent to Lakshmi Devi. One of her names is Gaja Lakshmi. Lakshmi with elephants. You've probably seen the pictures. 2 elephants are giving her bath on either side, and Lakshmi Devi is in the center. And they're pouring water on her to bathe her. But she's upset. So she refuses the offer of the elephant. No. Then she says, okay, I'll come out with my girlfriends. She comes out to where Lord Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, and Sudarshan are waiting, just outside the main entrance to Sri Mandir. She smiles at Jagannath, bows down to him, and then goes back in. He's left standing at the gate of the Sri Mandir. He realizes, I've got to do something to make it up to her. So that night, Jagannath dresses up in a Sona Vesh, a dress made of pure gold. It's described between the 3 deities and Sudarshan, they wear over a ton of pure gold on their bodies, their faces, everything. To show solidarity with Lord Jagannath, the Daityapatis, the special servants who serve Jagannath during these times, Snana Yatra, Rath Yatra, like that, they wear gold also. Jagannath is their homeboy, after all. So why does Jagannath do this? he's showing Lakshmi Devi, I'm with you. I've left those gopis back in Gundicha, left Vrindavan, I've come back to you. So next morning in a procession called Pahandi, he comes out for Rath Yatra, and called Pahandi, he goes back into the Sri Mandir. Now, Pahandi is a very special term. He does that during Rath Yatra and Snan Yatra. It's a very swaying kind of movement. Jagannath does not, go smoothly. He's handled by dozens of men. He's a big deity, very heavy, and he sways. He's swaying. He's intoxicated. But what is he intoxicated with? He's not drinking wine. The scriptures tell us he's drinking the wine called Radha Madhuri, the intoxication of the love of Srimati Radharani. And specifically, he's feeling separation from Radharani. So he's intoxicated. On the way out from Sri Mandir to the chariots when the Rath Yatra starts, he's intoxicated because he's excited. He's going to see Radharani in Gundicha and all the gopis, and he's going to be with his Braj devotees. On the way back, he's intoxicated because now he's in separation from those devotees, but he's also excited to see Lakshmi Devi. So his procession is called Pahandi, and it's swaying. We're over time. Otherwise, I had a short clip that I wanted to show of how this Pahandi happens, maybe at the end if there is time. So anyway, the two deities, Baldev and Subhadra, along with Sudarshan Chakra, they are taken back into Sri Mandir to the sound of gongs and shouts of Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra. And then it is Jagannath's turn. But as he comes to the outer door of the temple complex, the door is slammed shut in front of him. From the other side comes a voice, Pravesh Nishedh, entrance forbidden. Lakshmi Devi is still angry. Then there is an old Brahman who comes and he sings a romantic song to Lakshmi Devi. Jagannath loves you, like that. Then a voice calls out from within, go away. Lots more negotiation happens. Jagannath is pleading with her, I brought you new jewelry and dresses. I'm really sorry. I'm back. I really love you. And so on. Still, go away. Finally, Lakshmi Devi relents and the outer doors are thrown open. Lord Jagannath starts to go up the 22 steps through the Simhadwar to the top of the steps to go to Sri Mandir. Trumpets are being blown, gongs, kirtan is happening, shouts of Jagannath Swami ki jai. But again, the next story comes to its lot. And there is a message from Lakshmi Devi that is read out to him. You tell Lord Jagannath this, you are not going to find your sweet loving wife here. The only one you'll find is Chandi. It's a fierce form of Durga, complete with chopper. Tell him to go somewhere else. There is no happiness for him here. I know my husband, he likes nice food and fragrant oils. He won't find them here anymore. Tell him to go back to his girlfriends in Vrindavan. They must be missing him. Go away. And then another sweet song is offered, and a big pot of rasgullas is offered to Lakshmi Devi. Finally, after all these hours, she agrees to take Jagannath back. And then another big festival takes place to celebrate the reunion of Jagannath and Lakshmi Devi. And that's Jagannath's third birthday. It corresponds to the day that the deities of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra were installed by King Indradyumna in ancient times. So 3 birthdays of Jagannath. Janmashtami, because he's Krishna. Snan Yatra, that's when the first forms of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra appeared through the fire and in the form of the Daru Brahman, the log. The third birthday is Niladri Mahoday, the day corresponding to when the deity of Jagannath was first installed on the altar. Then they tie the cloths of Jagannath and Lakshmi Devi once again, and public darshans and worship of Jagannath resume once again. So I would like to conclude by briefly summarizing. We, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, worship Lord Jagannath as Krishna, who is in the mood of extreme separation from his beloved Brajavasis. Sri Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself, in the mood of his own topmost devotee, Sri Radha, would go mad with ecstasy looking at Lord Jagannath's beautiful form. He would go every day for darshan, the last 18 years of his life, of his manifested presence on this earth. He would go every day to the Sri Mandir during the day and the evening. And then at night, when Jagannath would go to sleep, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would experience the extreme ecstasy of separation that Sri Radha would experience after Krishna had left Vrindavan. Snana Yatra is the festival where Lord Jagannath goes up to the top of the wall in Sri Mandir for Abhishek or bath on the pretext that it's my birthday, so you should give me Abhishek. But in reality, he's doing that so he can look out at Gundicha, at Vrindavan, where his beloved Brajavasi devotees are. Rath Yatra is the festival of helping unite Krishna with his beloved gopis, and especially Srimati Radharani. It's a festival where everyone comes together in cooperation to give pleasure to Radha and Krishna by helping to unite them again. Krishna is unlimited. Everyone other than Krishna is meant to serve him. He enjoys unlimited varieties of mellows or rasas with his devotees. Just as he enjoys pastimes of love with the gopis, he enjoys marital bliss with the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi. Skanda Purana gives the benediction that anyone who sees the Rath Yatra or the Snana Yatra or any other festivals of Lord Jagannath will never take birth in the material world again, will go back to the spiritual world to serve Lord Jagannath eternally. Today, actually, being Snana Yatra, ISKCON of Central New Jersey has Jagannath deities, and they're doing Snana Yatra in the evening between 7 and 9. If anyone wants to go, take a drive out there. Most beautiful deities. They'll have a nice ceremony there. And then, we had Rath Yatra in New York a couple weeks ago. And then Tawako Temple, New Jersey, they have their first ever Rath Yatra in Parsippany on the 11th of July, which is the actual date of Rath Yatra in Puri. So that's a Sunday around 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon. Anyway, Jagannath is Patita Pavana, or the deliverer of the most fallen. So is Sri Chaitanya. Jagannath and Chaitanya are most pleased when we all cooperate to bring all kinds of living entities to their lotus feet. And we cooperate to serve each other so that we can serve the Lord with all our hearts. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada took Jagannath out of Puri, where not everyone could take his darshan or offer him service. And Prabhupada brought him to the entire world. There are literally hundreds of Rath Yatras all over the world now. And millions of people take darshan of Lord Jagannath. And Prabhupada, it's solely the endeavors of Prabhupada and the wish of Prabhupada to bring Jagannath to the entire world. He's acting on the orders of his beloved Guru, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. And finally, simply by eating Jagannath Mahaprasadam, a living entity is delivered. So these are some of the pastimes of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, and I wanted to share with them. Jagannath Swami ki jai, Lord Baladev ki jai, Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. May I share that Pahandi video? It's only like 10-20 seconds. It'd be nice to see how
yes,
Jagannath,
bro, please.
How Jagannath sways. Amazing, huh? Any questions, corrections, comments, critiques from anyone?
Hare Krishna, Yasoda Dulal Prabhu. It's Andrea. Thank you so much. This is such a perfect class for me to listen to. I'm actually going to be telling the story of Jagannath to some little devotees on Sunday. So this is just such a nice refresher. I won't be telling this long story that you told, but the one where Krishna overhears the gopis talking about it, and then he starts. So I'm going to do that. But still, all these stories that you shared helped me kind of get into the right mood and understand the essence of it. And I also just wanted to reinforce what people are putting in the chat, that if it's possible for you to provide us the links to all the videos that you shared, or especially that that was so beautiful, with like kind of, I wish I could have heard the sound of like him moving about, but there were just so many terms that you used that I wish I could look up. I know that Gaurasharam Prabhu sent me the spelling for one of them because I asked for it. But is there also like a web page or somewhere that you would recommend for us to further kind of dive into some of these stories that you shared?
Actually, on YouTube, you can type in Jagannath Snana Yatra or Pastimes of Lord Jagannath. There are so many great speakers that I personally listen to. So thank you for the kind comments and kind comments in the chat also. All the credit goes to my teachers. Radhanath Swami does great katha of Jagannath. Madhavananda Prabhu does great katha of Jagannath. Amarendra Prabhu, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Swami. There are so many. So on YouTube, you can just, you can drown yourself in Jagannath Katha, which frankly, the last 3 weeks since Gaurasharan Prabhu asked me to speak on Snana Yatra, I've been doing that every day just to try and get into the mood of speaking about Lord Jagannath. So thank you, Gaurasharan Prabhu. You helped me get into this mood by your munificence.
Thank you so much for such wonderful details, especially about the Sonaku and so many other nice details. I never knew all of these details, so it was very exciting to hear. Thank you very much for all the hard work that you put in, and also especially thank you for showing the videos. It made everything come alive. So thank you so much.
Joy. Thank you.
If anybody has any questions or comments, please share. There are a lot of messages on the chat room. Everybody's thanking me for the class.
Thank you. Very kind. It's all the credit goes to my Gurujan.
And you have put the Pahandi video link to me actually on a direct message. If you can put it to everyone.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay, I will do that.
Right. And also Mother Hemangi is asking about the Central New Jersey temple.
Yes, it's in Plainfield. It's in Plainfield, New Jersey. You can just Google ISKCON of Central New Jersey. You'll find the address. And then the other one I mentioned was July 11th, which is a Sunday. There'll be a Rath Yatra, first ever Rath Yatra in Parsippany that the Tobacco Temple is organizing. So if you can come to that, because it benefits us and it gives us great joy to see Lord Jagannath's pastimes. So we should go to all these. We are lucky that we live in this region where there are so many temples we can go to.
Thank you so much, Yasoda Dulal Prabhu. Dandavat pranams. I enjoy your session so much. I always learn a lot, including, for example, Jagannath's 3 birthdays, and you had all these pastimes fit into your session so nicely, and you have the ability to speak so fluidly. Personally, I am so grateful that you gave us darshan of the deities in Puri, which I never thought I would ever be able to have. Just being able to see online, not qualified, and I think there's stories that they don't allow anyone who's not Indian bodied in. And I just thought that was just like maybe even Haridas Sakar, there's all these specific regulations, and so you gave us darshan. I'm so grateful, and even the chakras. So that was the highlight for me, just so much mercy. So you've just given us so much mercy. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed your session as always. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, you're too kind. And, for those who are not Indian bodied, they cannot go in to see the deities in Puri, but obviously during Rath Yatra or Snana Yatra, but it's a mad crush. So you might feel intimidated by that, but there is hope. You can go to Rajapur in Mayapur, and 4 kilometers from the ISKCON Mayapur Mandir is the Jagannath Mandir, those Rajapur deities that I showed, wearing the elephant dress. Those deities, the scripture actually tells us they are non-different from the deities in Puri. So you can go and they are like, you can see them at a distance of 4 or 5 feet. And they're magnificent and they touch the heart and they're beautiful. And of course, Brajarani just put, thank you. Sri Radhika, my wife, would also being Western bodied, she couldn't go in. So she would stand at the Simhadwar and look at Patita Pavana, Lord Jagannath. And she would wait there just looking at him for the 2 or 3 hours that would be inside, because sometimes it takes long to stand in line and get darshan of the deities inside. It's true. And Angelica asks, why is it only for Indian bodied persons? It's a very ancient tradition. And, ISKCON's trying to work with the devotees who run that, that temple to change it, because we know we are not this body, and therefore Vaishnavas are not just based on, whether they look Indian or not. But it's a long story. But, for now, rather than, we take darshan in the different forms that's available for now. Someday, hopefully in our lifetime, there will be entrance to everyone into the Jagannath temple.
Thank you very much, Shasha.
Thank you very much. Shla Prabhupada ki jai.
His grace, Yasoda Dulal Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna.